Imagine a civilization so vast, so influential, that its inventions shaped the world we live in today. Paper, gunpowder, the compass, these are just a few of China's contributions. But behind these innovations lies a history filled with dynastic intrigue, wars, and cultural revolutions. How did China rise, fall, and rise again to become a global superpower? Stay with us as we uncover the epic history of China, from its ancient origins to its modern dominance. Enjoying the journey through history? Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of history enthusiasts. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell us what you think, share your favorite historical insights, or suggest a topic you'd love to see us explore. The birth of Chinese civilization, the Xia, Shang, and Zhou dynasties. China's story begins with the Xia dynasty, circa 2100 to 1600 BCE, often regarded as mythical until archaeological discoveries in the Yellow River region provided evidence of early settlements and bronze tools. The Xia laid the foundation for centralized rule and irrigation systems that helped agriculture thrive. The Xia rulers, according to legend, established the principle of hereditary succession, creating a political structure that would persist through later dynasties. The myths of Yu the Great, who tamed the Yellow River's devastating floods, became foundational in Chinese cultural memory. Next came the Shang dynasty, 1600 to 1046 BCE, known for sophisticated bronze work, oracle bones, and a complex writing system, the ancestor of modern Chinese characters. The Shang kings ruled through a network of feudal lords using religion to legitimize their authority. Shang artifacts like elaborate bronze vessels and oracle bones used for divination provide a glimpse into the spiritual and social structure of early Chinese society. The Zhou dynasty, 1046 to 256 BCE, introduced the mandate of heaven, the belief that emperors ruled by divine approval, but only if they governed justly. The Zhou era also saw the rise of influential philosophies like Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism, as China descended into the chaotic Warring States period, 475 to 221 BCE. This period was marked by intellectual flourishing, with Confucius, Laozi, and Han Feizi laying the groundwork for China's moral and political philosophy. The Qin dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE, China united. In 221 BCE, Qin Shi Huang unified the warring states into the first centralized Chinese empire. He standardized writing, currency, and measurements, and ordered the construction of the Great Wall to protect against northern invaders. Qin Shi Huang was a leader of contrasts, a brilliant strategist but a ruthless tyrant. His obsession with immortality led to massive construction projects, including his elaborate mausoleum guarded by the Terracotta Army. His policies were harsh, books were burned, and scholars were buried alive if they challenged the state's authority. However, the Qin dynasty collapsed soon after his death, but its legacy of unity endured. The Han dynasty, 206 BCE, 220 CE, the Golden Age of China. The Han dynasty ushered in economic prosperity, territorial expansion, and cultural flourishing. Under emperors like Han Wudi, China expanded into Central Asia, Korea, and Vietnam, establishing the Silk Road, a trade route that connected China to Europe and the Middle East. This era saw advancements in papermaking, astronomy, and medicine. Confucianism became the state ideology shaping Chinese society for centuries. However, internal corruption, peasant uprisings like the Yellow Turban Rebellion, and invasions by nomadic groups led to the dynasty's fall, plunging China into the Three Kingdoms period, 220 to 280 CE. The Han's achievements in bureaucratic governance, scientific discovery, and artistic expression laid the foundation for China's long-term development. Historical texts like Sima Qian's Records of the Grand Historian gave China its first comprehensive historical narrative. The Tang and Song dynasties, innovation and cultural brilliance. The Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, marked a cultural and territorial zenith. Its capital, Chang'an, became the world's largest city, attracting traders and scholars from across Asia and the Middle East. This period produced poetic giants like Li Bai and Du Fu, as well as technological breakthroughs in woodblock printing. The Tang's political stability was supported by the equal field system, which distributed land to peasants to prevent aristocratic monopolies. However, corruption and military overreach, exemplified by the An Lushan Rebellion, weakened the dynasty. The Song Dynasty, 960 to 1279 CE, built on these innovations, ushering in the world's first paper currency and advancements in gunpowder weaponry and navigation. The movable type printing press, invented by Bi Sheng, revolutionized knowledge dissemination. However, constant military pressure from northern tribes like the Jurchen weakened the dynasty, eventually giving way to the Mongol conquest. The Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368, Mongol rule. In 1271, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, founded the Yuan dynasty, bringing China under foreign rule for the first time. The Mongols implemented a rigid ethnic hierarchy, but also expanded trade and cultural exchange through the Pax Mongolica. The Venetian explorer Marco Polo visited China during this time, describing its immense wealth in his writings. However, economic mismanagement and peasant rebellions led to the Yuan's fall. The Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, the Great Rebuilding. The Ming Dynasty, founded by the peasant-turned-emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, focused on restoring Han Chinese rule. The Ming rebuilt the Great Wall and expanded maritime exploration through Admiral Zheng He's expeditions to Africa and Southeast Asia. The Ming also saw the rise of urban consumer culture and innovations like porcelain exports, which gained popularity in Europe. However, economic decline, natural disasters, and Manchu invasions led to the dynasty's collapse. The Qing Dynasty, 1644 to 1912, the last imperial dynasty. The Manchu-led Qing dynasty expanded China's borders to their greatest extent, incorporating Tibet, Xinjiang, and Mongolia. The Qing saw economic growth but struggled with Western incursions, particularly during the Opium Wars, 1839 to 1842, 1856 to 1860. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864, and the Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901, further weakened the dynasty. Internal stagnation, population pressures, and peasant unrest culminated in the Xinhai Revolution of 1911, which led to the abdication of the last emperor, Puyi, in 1912, ending 2,000 years of imperial rule. The Republic of China, 1912 to 1949, instability and war. The collapse of the Qing dynasty in 1912 marked the end of over 2,000 years of imperial rule in China. The newly formed Republic of China, ROC, led by Sun Yat-sen, faced enormous challenges from the very beginning. Sun's vision was to modernize China through his three principles of the people: nationalism, democracy, and the livelihood of the people. However, the transition to a modern republic proved to be anything but smooth. Political fragmentation and warlordism. Sun Yat-sen's presidency was short-lived. He handed power to Yuan Shikai, a former Qing military leader, hoping Yuan could unify the country. However, Yuan declared himself emperor in 1915, alienating military leaders and politicians alike. His death in 1916 left China fragmented as regional warlords carved out territories, each vying for control. This period, known as the Warlord Era, 1916 to 1928, plunged China into political chaos. The central government in Beijing was weak, and military strongmen ruled with brutality and self-interest, exploiting the population and stalling national development. The May 4th movement and intellectual awakening. Amidst this turmoil, the May 4th movement of 1919 emerged. Sparked by the Treaty of Versailles, which transferred German-held territories in China to Japan, students and intellectuals took to the streets to protest. This movement was more than an act of nationalism. It was a call for cultural and political reform. The movement introduced Western ideas of democracy, science, and socialism, fueling intellectual debates about China's future. It was during this period that Marxism-Leninism gained traction, particularly after the Russian Revolution of 1917. Intellectuals like Li Dazhao and Chen Duxiu laid the groundwork for the founding of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, in 1921, with Mao Zedong among its early members. The Northern Expedition, 1926 to 1928. In 1926, the Kuomintang, KMT, led by Chiang Kai-shek, launched the Northern Expedition to defeat the warlords and unify China. By 1928, the mission succeeded, and the Nanjing government was established. However, unity was superficial. Tensions between the KMT and CCP, nominal allies during the expedition, quickly escalated. Chiang viewed communism as a threat to his authority. In 1927, he ordered the Shanghai Massacre, executing thousands of communists and triggering a bloody civil war between the KMT and the CCP. The Long March, 1934 to 1935. By 1934, the CCP was on the brink of destruction. Surrounded by KMT forces, Mao Zedong led 80,000 communists on a 6,000-mile retreat from Jiangxi to Shanxi, a journey known as the Long March. Fewer than 10,000 survived, but the march solidified Mao's leadership and became a mythic symbol of communist resilience. The Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945. In 1937, Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China, beginning with the Marco Polo Bridge incident. The Japanese military quickly seized major cities like Beijing, Nanjing, and Shanghai. The rape of Nanjing witnessed mass atrocities, with 300,000 civilians killed. The KMT and CCP formed a fragile alliance to resist the invaders, but cooperation was minimal. China's war effort drained resources and devastated its economy. Despite immense suffering, Chinese forces, with U.S. and Soviet assistance, managed to resist the Japanese until Japan's surrender in 1945. The Chinese Civil War resumes, 1945 to 1949. After World War II, the Chinese Civil War reignited. The KMT, backed by the U.S., held key cities but struggled with corruption and poor morale. The CCP, strengthened by its guerrilla tactics and rural support, launched a series of offensives. By 1949, communist forces had captured Beijing, Shanghai, and Nanjing. On October 1, 1949, Mao Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic of China, PRC, in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. The KMT retreated to Taiwan, where they established a rival government, laying the groundwork for cross-strait tensions that persist to this day. The People's Republic of China, 1949 to present. From isolation to superpower. On October 1, 1949, Mao Zedong stood atop Tiananmen Gate and proclaimed the establishment of the People's Republic of China, PRC. This marked the birth of a new era for a nation that had endured centuries of imperial rule, civil war, and foreign invasions. However, the journey from a war-torn, impoverished country to a global superpower was neither quick nor smooth. The early years, communist reforms and political consolidation. The early years of the PRC were marked by radical reforms aimed at consolidating communist power and transforming Chinese society. Mao Zedong sought to reshape China's agrarian economy into a modern socialist state. Land reforms redistributed land from landlords to peasants, resulting in millions of deaths during violent class struggles. In 1950, the government enacted the marriage law, granting equal rights to women and abolishing arranged marriages and foot-binding practices. Meanwhile, Mao's government cracked down on political dissent, launching anti-rightist campaigns to silence critics. The Great Leap Forward, 1958 to 1962. In 1958, Mao introduced the Great Leap Forward, aiming to rapidly industrialize China and boost agricultural production through collectivized farms and backyard steel furnaces. The campaign was a disastrous failure. Poor planning, inflated production figures, and environmental mismanagement led to widespread famine, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 30 to 45 million people. The catastrophic outcome weakened Mao's influence within the Communist Party of China, CPC. More pragmatic leaders like Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping advocated for economic adjustments, introducing limited market reforms to stabilize the economy. The Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 1976. Determined to reassert his authority, Mao launched the Cultural Revolution in 1966. The movement sought to purge bourgeois elements and preserve true communist ideology. Mao mobilized millions of Red Guards, mostly young students, to attack intellectuals, officials, and historical sites. China was plunged into chaos. Schools closed, the economy faltered, and an entire generation was left uneducated. The violence led to millions of deaths, the destruction of cultural relics, and the disintegration of social trust. The chaos only subsided after Mao's death in 1976 and the arrest of the Gang of Four, including Mao's widow, Jiang Qing. Economic reforms. The era of Deng Xiaoping, 1978 to 1992. In 1978, Deng Xiaoping emerged as China's paramount leader. Deng's mantra was reform and opening up, a policy that transformed China into a market-oriented economy while maintaining authoritarian political control. Key reforms included special economic zones, SEZs, in Shenzhen, Zhuhai, and Xiamen, which attracted foreign investment and technology. Decollectivization of agriculture, replacing communes with the household responsibility system, which boosted food production. Encouragement of private enterprise and foreign partnerships, leading to the rapid growth of manufacturing and exports. These reforms lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty and turned China into the world's manufacturing hub. However, economic liberalization also widened inequality and created social tensions. Tiananmen Square protests, 1989. The reforms spurred not only economic growth but also demands for political reform. In April 1989, students, intellectuals, and workers gathered in Beijing's Tiananmen Square to call for democratic freedoms and government transparency. The peaceful protests were met with a violent crackdown on June 4, 1989. The exact death toll remains unknown, but hundreds to thousands of people were killed. The Tiananmen Square massacre drew global condemnation, but the Chinese government maintained strict control, doubling down on economic reforms while suppressing political dissent. China in the 21st century, global superpower. Entering the 21st century, China experienced unprecedented economic growth. In 2001, it joined the World Trade Organization, WTO, accelerating its integration into the global economy. Key milestones include hosting the Beijing Olympics 2008, a global showcase of China's modernity and economic might. Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, launched in 2013, a trillion-dollar infrastructure project spanning Asia, Africa, and Europe, aiming to expand China's geopolitical influence. Technological breakthroughs. China became a leader in 5G technology, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy. Challenges and future outlook. Despite its achievements, China faces numerous challenges. Economic slowdown. Growth has slowed, and demographic decline looms due to low birth rates. Geopolitical tensions. Disputes over Taiwan, the South China Sea, and trade with the United States persist. Domestic discontent. The government's zero-COVID policies sparked rare protests in 2022, highlighting underlying social frustrations. China's future trajectory remains uncertain. Its authoritarian governance model, combined with economic ambitions and global ambitions, positions it as one of the most consequential players in the 21st century. From ancient dynasties to modern dominance, China's story is one of resilience and reinvention. But what challenges lie ahead for this global power? Can it maintain its growth and stability in a rapidly changing world? Stay with us as we continue exploring the fascinating evolution of China's history. And if you know someone who would love diving into the past, share this video with them. Let's uncover history together.